We are live. Hello and welcome to Moreness-Culture. Good morning, Syl. And good morning, the grand, the huge eagle there. Wow, what a beautiful picture
Yes,
you have as a
yes.
background. Welcome to
Brilliant,
our show,
brilliant.
Eagle. Welcome to our
Oh,
show. Very artistic, very majestic, and welcome, Rain. And welcome to everyone who is going to watch us live here on Instagram,
yes.
on YouTube. You all are welcome, and it's a happiness for us, it's a goodness for us that you
Oh, yeah,
guys
oh, yeah,
joining us,
oh, yeah.
like Joseph regularly, of course, like Robert,
Yes,
Albert,
yes.
yes,
Yeah.
Christopher Abbott, sorry,
Christopher
Christopher
Abbott.
Abbott, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
and also Norma. So everyone, we are like, okay, yes, regularly, and of course occasionally, everything is okay and wonderful for us. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us. Please, if you are here, please do subscribe and like, and leave a comment here, because we love to see your comments. And again, if you have some questions, please do just leave that in the comments. We love to have love notes from the universe. Also,
Okay.
I feel that something happened yesterday. Maybe in utmost politeness, Joseph was just trying to hint that what is your intent to do these lives? Because
Yes, I
maybe
was thinking
maybe
about that too. I did
yeah,
answer it,
maybe
but there's more. There's more.
yeah, maybe Joseph, you okay, again, it's a pure assumption, could be totally wrong, that you might be hinting that, oh, please focus on Don Juan, guys. You are talking about the perfection and all other things. So yes, our intent is to do the capital R reading, but
Yeah.
but the always a bigger intent is the universe's bigger intent is attunement.
Exactly, which we are a part
Sometimes
of. Yes,
yes, so sometimes things just come up in a way that we cannot ignore it.
exactly.
And it feels very dishonest to actually ignore it. We cannot
Right.
do
So
this.
an overriding intent is thus the intent to appropriateness.
Exactly. So yesterday, yes, it was perfection. And then, of course, I just shared something because before coming here, and it was the article from our wonderful friend Shah about perfection. And I, of course, I'm aware of Syl's perspective on perfection. So, and I was just sharing my perspective, which is kind of a mixture of both. But it's still, it
Yeah.
is, of course, I have no hesitation to accept that my idea of perfection, I really, really highly acknowledge Syl's idea of perfection, because it is so far, this is the most accurate definition of perfection I have
Yeah.
ever read. So this is so far. Again, of course, it is as good as nothing best is going to come into my life, and we will see. So that was something I was feeling, oh my God, maybe Joseph was being so polite and nice with us, and not saying that, okay, why you guys are just moving, hearing it there,
Yeah.
and not reading capital R reading of
Yeah.
uh, Don Juan
Yeah.
via books from Carlos. I was like trying to
Yeah.
articulate my sentence again very carefully. Anyway, so
Yeah.
that was the thing I was. It was in my mind.
Right.
Joseph, yes, we do
Right.
consider and we try, but it is going to be always appropriateness is
Exactly.
something we cannot do anything about it.
Exactly. And the digressions and the detours. This is part of capital R reading because the overall intent is sharing of moreness and moreness culture, which involves
Yes,
attunement, it involves appropriateness, it involves energy, intent, it involves all of these things. If we are going to understand Don Juan properly, we need to understand things like intent. So yes, we had a long the whole live yesterday, the whole open was pretty much all about intent. But as we're going to see, this is a major issue with Don Juan, as we're going to see later on. Not issue, but a factor. It's of major importance. Intent is absolutely integral to everything. It's like one of the core, most important understandings. So to digress and talk about intent is not really a digression. It is just talking about something that's important to Don Juan a little bit ahead of before he gets there, but as appropriate. We talk about things as they come up, as appropriate. That's always our intent, is to be appropriate. And when the energy
exactly.
comes, right? So now, well, let's look at impeccability, best use of energy. Your question, which was an earnest question, right? This is an energy. Earnestness is an energy. We allowed that energy. We facilitated that energy, right? And we leveraged that energy to leverage our own energy to respond, right? It's much easier to elucidate on a topic, to give depth on a topic, to discuss a topic, to share on the moreness that we know, right? Because we have a lot of moreness connected to this. It's something that we are very intimately connected to. But it's much easier to share all of what's inside us when there's an earnestness that pulls it from us, because that's really what happens. It gets pulled out of us rather than us, okay, just, well, let's talk about intent today. I mean, let's say the computer came and gave us a random topic. It's not going to be effective. There's no energy to it, right? So when things come at us and leverage and pull from us, this is incredibly powerful. We are inordinately leveraged by earnestness. So really, if you ask an earnest question, you'll get much more than otherwise would come out of us if we were just talking about it as just happenstance, right? And it's very, very, very powerful, this whole point of earnestness. Now, there was something about intent. When we look at our overall intent, it is an intent to appropriateness. That's it. That is it. Appropriateness is the core guiding quality. Now you say, but what does that mean? What does that imply? Oh, when you're looking at appropriateness in its true meaning, not proper, none of that nonsense, right? When you say, what is appropriate? What is appropriate in my life? Now, well, I've got to say, well, it depends on what you want to do. And everything depends. Everything with appropriateness depends. And of course, when you take it in the most absolute, it's what are you going to be doing with your energy? How are you going to use your energy? That's what it boils down to, right? So now we say appropriate use of my energy. Okay, well, you say, well, would it happiness, the pursuit of happiness, be appropriate? Yes, it is. However, if you pursue happiness in itself only, you can leave yourself very vulnerable, right? It's not very strategically sound because you can have fantastic happiness, but at a price, at a cost. For instance, if you're pursuing happiness via artificial media, like, I don't know, whatever people do to get happy. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but that can be a temporary thing, but you're paying a price for it. You're paying a price physically, you're paying a price psychologically. So, we have to be careful about the pursuit of happiness. We don't want our happiness also to be something that typically when people pursue happiness, they're pursuing it externally, right? External things make them happy. Like, oh, it's such a nice day, and now you're happy. Now your happiness is determined by external factors like the weather, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? So now we want to pursue real happiness, which means you have to go inside yourself internally. You have to be able to internally create your own happiness. In other words, you need to be in charge of your happiness. That means mood management, perception management, habit management, all of the managements, right? Association management, all of those factors. So you need to get your psychology sorted, your psychology, your emotionality, your spirituality, which of course, again, becomes energy dependent, which brings us back to impeccability, which is best use of energy. So now I'm saying that our intent is this ultimate appropriateness. Now, the ultimate appropriateness decided by us is a difficult question to answer because we know our mindset, our awareness, our knowledge, our sensibility is compromised. Why do we know this? Because I do not have access to universal information. For me to make the best possible decision as to what is best for me, I'll need to have access to universal information. I don't. Right? So therefore, my decisions as to what's best for me, I know are compromised and I cannot rely on them. And this was the story of the gift of intent, coming back to intent. That story that I had about the young man and his realization that the pursuit of the goal of self-wisdom is flawed. He pursued self-wisdom most assiduously, most assiduously. There came a point, though, where he had done so much to it that he realized that, yes, he had done a lot relative to anybody that he knew. However, relative to what was needed, it was fractional. So this became a never-ending pursuit of infinity again that can never be accomplished, much like the pursuit of of moreness, right? And so you have to make peace with this. So he said, if I cannot accomplish self-wisdom, how can I know what's best for me? And he started thinking about it, and he said, well, here's the remedy. It is attunement. It is from the universe. The universe has access to universe information. And universe here being a catch-all term. You can call it a deity, you can call it your own spirit, you can call it your inner self, your deeper self, your higher self, your subconscious, whatever you want. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Attunement is the issue. Through attunement, we can access the moreness that is best for us. Right? Now, the intent becomes, the intent to appropriateness leads to attunement as being the most appropriate way to live. Yeah? So now, what we do is a function always of attunement. So that when you ask, what is our intent with doing these lives? They are sub-intents, like the sub-intent is to read, but the sub-intents are dependent on the larger intent, the intent to appropriateness, the intent to moreness, the intent to best use of energy. And of course, the major issue in all of our lives is the question of our deaths. What are we doing about our deaths? Right? If you want advice, like Don Juan says, death is an advisor. It's a fantastic advisor. Go and ask death what to do about your life. Death will tell you, well, stop worrying about your nonsense stuff, right? All these trivial issues that you think are a big deal, how people are thinking about you, and I've been insulted and offended and God knows what all, right? And relative compared to others, comparing all stuff. It's all nonsense. This is none of that's going to matter one iota when I come for you. Will you be ready? This is what we do. Our intent is to be ready when death comes. For me personally, right now, I'm saying not a problem. I'll say hello and welcome. Not an issue. Not an issue at all. I don't see death as a negative. I see death as an accomplishment. At least I see the accomplishment as my ability to die appropriately. I don't even think of it as death, because death, by definition, is an ending. To me, I have developed the understanding, the awareness, and the knowledge that it's a transition. So I'm ready to transition, not a problem. Why? Because it's not about what I know memory-wise, because I know this doesn't carry over. But I feel my ability to deal with any situation, at least I've had a great variety in my life. I mean, more than most by far. Right? I'll be able to deal with it, no problem, because of Way-of-Impeccability. It is the ability to deal with whatever, including death. When your character is sound, doesn't matter what reality I'm going to transition to. Yes, patience is going to be our value anyway. Discipline is going to be a value anyway. Forbearance is going to be a value anyway. Perspective shifting is going to be a value anyway. Thinking things through to the end is going to be a value anyway. Awareness is always going to be valuable. The ability to discern, the ability to understand, and being a big topic, the ability to trust yourself, regardless of how much you know. I don't have to know things to be able to do things. Like Beena was saying yesterday, when we come on here, we don't rehearse, we don't practice anything. We can talk on whatever is needed to be talked about. And not just needed, but we can rely, we have the ability to be spontaneous, to be creative, to be innovative, to be inventive. We have all of these abilities. It's a skill which we have honed. So I don't have to know what's going on. I can trust that what I need to do and how to behave will come to me. It is a profound trust in our intent to appropriateness, which, said another way, is our intent to goodness. Yes? Our intent to rightness, which again brings us back to intent to appropriateness. Yeah? And that is founded on our impeccability. I trust my intent to be impeccable, to do what's right, to do what's good. Yeah? Doesn't matter that I don't know how exactly to implement that. I trust that it will happen in some way or another. Right? Much ways, Beena's trusting that what she's going to share is going to come out okay, and it does. Right? So we trust our ability to be able to do without knowing what to do ahead of time. To be able to do immediately, spontaneously. This is an incredible and profound self-trust that is based on our intent to goodness, which is also our intent to appropriateness. It's the same thing, right? I like to call it our intent to goodness because I can have an intent to appropriateness and not necessarily add in what is typically associated with goodness, which is niceness, pleasantness, politeness, courtesy, generosity, kindness. Those aren't required. Those are bonuses. They're not required. Yeah? They're bonuses. I don't have to be pleasant. I could say I don't have. I do what I do have to do is not to be unpleasant, not be harmful. Yeah, but I have no. There's no requirement of me in any way from an integrity point of view for me to be pleasant or positive or nice. Right? I can just be neutral, not a problem. But it's my predilection to be pleasant. I personally like it, right? When I like to go even further than just being pleasant, which we get to the whole understanding of nobleness. But that's me, right? So when I look at this in the bigger picture, my intent to goodness is a term I prefer because it touches on my desire to add those positive qualities, right? But it's still an intent to appropriateness. That intent to goodness is a flavor, it's a style that comes from my personal preference, my personal predilection. Nonetheless, intent to goodness is a good term because I find it connects to people, right? Everybody I know, right? Joseph, Norma, Christopher Abbott, and all the participants, everybody I know. Just mentioning people who come regularly. Sure, everybody, right? When you look at them through the lens of intent to goodness, you see it, you see it, you see it, you see it, right? You see in all their actions, you see this intent to goodness. Are we always sensible? Are we always appropriate? Are we always knowledgeable? Are we always aware? And do we always perceive that? No, but so what? So what? Does it matter? Not in the least. Why? Because I see your intent to goodness. Even though you've got the thing all muddled, you got all I know sometimes people get a bit upset with me for whatever reason. I still see your intent to goodness. Yeah, doesn't matter. You're not trying to be nasty on purpose, right? It just you know sometimes people get a bit upset or angry because they think that's what they should do. Whenever you're behaving according to should, you're pursuing should is a pursuit of goodness. That's what should means. It's the right thing, the good thing to do. Yeah. And sometimes, of course, we have massive inappropriate application of goodness. When you understand this, then you can look past people's behaviors, which are inappropriate, to their intent to goodness, because they're doing things which are inappropriate, but the intent is a good intent. Right? So inappropriate application of goodness, major conception, bringing us back to our intent. Our intent is really coming from all of these great intents. This is just one way to express, materialize, implement, and apply and pursue those intents, to implement those intents. That's what we're doing. If you ask, what is our intent with the show? It is merely one of the ways that we are implementing our intent to appropriateness, our intent to moreness, which really is when you take the ultimate intent to appropriateness, isn't it an intent to moreness? Yeah, how can it not be, right? Okay. I mean, anything else just doesn't make any sense, right? So what we do here is all a function of that. And it's sharing it, because in the sharing we learn, we grow, we enhance and develop our awareness, all of these factors. So our intent is application of everything that is our inner philosophy, our way of being, which is way of impeccability. Right? Does that summarize it all, Beena?
Yes.
Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So very cool indeed. Lots of magical stuff. Yes? Anything to add to all of that, Beena?
No, it is complete. Yes.
Yeah.
So far.
Right. So Norma says hi. Hello, Norma. And Sher says, self-trust is critical. Yes. And we had a big, long discussion on this. Sure. When you tap into all of the things that build your self-trust, most people base their self-trust and their confidence on their competence, on their skillfulness, on their ability. The problem with that is, right? For instance, a topic came up, somebody was dealing with difficult people at work who were criticizing them and giving them a hard time and usual superiority paradigm nonsense. And they said, I really struggle with peer pressure. Okay, now what's the remedy for this? Well, of course, self-trust. Yeah? If you completely trust yourself, you are very much less affected by peer pressure, right? Okay, you may still have ego issues and and sensitivity issues. But nonetheless, when you really think it through, and I'm going to shortcut a bit here, and get to connect self-trust to your trusting your intent to goodness. It doesn't matter that you know specifically how to deal with those people. Trust your intent to goodness. Act on your intent to goodness, which means that I'm going to try and deal with them. I'm going to practice dealing with them. And in that trying, in that practice, in that doing, when I focus on my intent to goodness, I know I might not have the most appropriate way of dealing with it, but my deep, deep, absolute trust and focus and immersion on my intent to goodness, now when you bring it to the fore and you make it part of your actions, others are going to see it. Even if they don't maybe consciously see it, they will definitely, their inner selves, their bodies, their deeper knowing will know, hey, this person's not trying to be clever. They're not trying to be funny. They're not trying to be superior. No, they're trying to be good. And it's not just a surface trying, it's an intent to be goodness. We're going to communicate to their deeper part. When people start to see that everything you do is motivated by an intent to goodness, not a desire for goodness, not a hope, not a wish, not a maybe, not a I'm going to try. No, it's an intent, which is a doing. Then, of course, you now solve all your problems pretty much, right? When this is a part of your being. Furthermore, when it comes to self-trust, I know I don't have the necessary abilities and skills and solutions and answers for everything. But that's not what my self-trust is based on. I'm not going to have the exact right remedy because that I have to learn and I have to know everything in order to have that. And in the meantime, until I maybe ever get to that point, which I doubt, my self-trust has to be based on my intent to goodness. It's the only thing that's constant in my life. Knowledge, skills, abilities, those come and they go. My intent to goodness never, ever, ever wavers. Ever. It is who I am. It is what I can trust 100%. My intent to goodness never wavers, never deviates. Does yours, sir? Does yours, sir? Again, this waiting for perfection. I know you, but you're looking at perfection in a very particular, limited understanding. Yes, we already have perfection. It's not that we're waiting for it. We're already living in perfection. The issue is not perfection itself. The issue is awareness that we are living in perfection. To me, it's not one single thing about life right now that I would change. Life, the world, universe. I cannot. It's not possible for me to change anything because it's all appropriate. It's all serving the development and enhancement of awareness. If you go and take all these elements out, if you mess with it, you're now messing with learning and growing and leveraging our awareness. See? So perfection is conditional. It's relative. We think of perfection as having this idealized state. No, perfection is conditional. For instance, if you're thirsty, sure, and you drink a glass of water and you're not thirsty anymore, the water was perfect for resolving your thirst, was it not? If you were thirsty, you drink a glass of water or a cup of tea, coffee, whatever. You drink something and now you're not thirsty anymore. Whatever you did was perfect for resolving your thirst. Now you say, yeah, but all right, let's say I had whiskey and I'm not thirsty anymore. That may not be so good for my health if I drank a bottle of whiskey and I may be drunk as a result. It wasn't. Now the perfection shifts. See, perfection is conditional on your goals. It's much like appropriateness. It was perfect for doing the thirst. It wasn't perfect for your health. It wasn't perfect for your mental clarity, etc. See, so when we understand perfection as being conditional like that, it all changes. The world we are in right now is perfect as a school for the enhancement and development of awareness. See, so a little different, right? Yeah. So how we conceive of perfection is very, 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 very critical. Yeah, and it's a very tricky conception because it's conditional. It's much like appropriateness. It's conditional. It depends. It depends. It depends. Right? And that's there's many examples of things that are perfect in the world, but they're not this idealized idea of perfection because we have no idea what that is. So we're saying it's not perfect, but I don't really know what it is. So see, so we have a bit of messed up thinking when it comes to conceiving perfection. Shift your conceptionality somewhat and make your perfection relative to your goals and your intents. Now it's different. If your goal and intent is the enhancement and development of awareness, well, then life is perfect. It does that. It does it wondrously, fantastically, magically well. And it does it appropriate to where you are at. It brings you the lessons that you need, the opportunities for practice that you need. It is so intimately, perfectly geared to you. It's unbelievable. Right? So to me, that makes a very big difference when we understand that. But I want to connect. I don't want to go into the perfection though, right? Self-trust is saying that I can trust myself to be appropriate. Yeah. And I can only be appropriate as far as my current abilities allow me to be. Part of my self-trust is to say, I'm going to raise the bar when it comes to what's my best. I'm going to learn in the moment. I'm going to be creative. I'm going to be inventive. I'm going to be innovative. I'm going to come up with stuff that I've never come up with before. I'm going to say and do things that are completely new. I'm going to trust that I'm able to surprise myself and do what is appropriate, even if I've never done it before. That self-trust comes from trusting our intent to goodness, because keep in mind, right? When we have an intent, it is not only involving our personal intent, but that's what intent means. Intent is a collaboration with the universe and its intent. So I have my personal intent, which is really will, and then there's the universal intent. So when we set an intent, we are involving the universe. I don't need to know everything, because the universe is going to assist me. All that's required of me is impeccability. Doing everything I know and think and can do, extending myself, raising the bar, right? Trusting. This is the key. Trust, 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 trust. Self-trust and trust, all connected. So when I absolutely trust this intent to goodness, then I also can trust myself, because I know the intent to goodness is something deep and innate inside me, like it is in you, sure? Your intent to goodness is always there in you, is it not? Yeah? All right, so let me just read Sher's statement, and then I want some response on your intent to goodness and your trust of it. Oh, see, yeah, my statement didn't come out right. Another example of my intent to goodness. Yes, exactly. What I was attempting to say was, if I'm constantly looking for perfection external to me, perfection in my skills, perfection in my way of being or living, doing, etc., how is that trusting myself? Precisely. Yes, now you are making a nice, most wonderfully sophisticated and articulate point here. Yes, when we are also looking for things outside of ourselves, we're not trusting that it will come automatically from inside and in conjunction with the universe. So outside is the universe, yes, attunement, but really that is merely an external indication of what you need to connect to internally. So attunement is always about connecting your inside to whatever's going on, right? So it's the inside, and connecting that is what's important. Applying it, sharing it, expressing it. Yes, this is what it is all about. So very, very good point here, right? So how is that not trusting? Exactly, it's not sure. It's not trusting myself. It's just doing and having the faith that I'm doing what's good, what's most appropriate, what's right for the circumstance, as best I know. And that's where intent is the magic issue. I'm going to do as best I know. I'm going to be impeccable. Is that going to be enough? I can only trust that it will be, because I trust the universe to take care through intent, to take care of that which I don't actually have the conscious aware skills to do myself right now. So the leftover portion of what's necessary, I have my intent. I do everything I can do. Whatever else is necessary, I trust I trust universal intent to take care of it, because that's what intent is. It is a collaboration between me and my actions, my doings, and the universe, right? Circumstance. Yeah. So very cool, show. Very cool. Very cool. Wonderful point. So the key takeaway here is this intent to goodness. Intent to goodness is the starting point. It is the path. It is the road to independence of being. Yeah. To get to independence of being, we want to have that complete self-trust. To have that complete self-trust, we have to absolutely remain and continue to be and be connected and immersed in and involved in and have in the forefront of our awareness our intent to goodness. Everything we do needs to come via our intent to goodness as a conscious, deliberate act. So our intent to goodness mustn't be something just in the background. No, it needs to be a deliberate activity. which brings us again back to Joseph's question: what is our intent for doing these shows, these lives, these opens? It is our intent is to exercise our intent to goodness, to practice it, yes, to employ it, to share it, to be it, to live it, to do it. Yes, Beena?
Sorry, I just muted myself because I was going to
No
YouTube, so
problem.
that's why. Yes,
Does that make sense? That's
exactly.
our intent, is the
Absolutely.
application, implementation of our intent to goodness, or put another way, our intent to appropriateness. Like I said, it's
Yes.
really intent to appropriateness, but the intent to goodness is the flavoring, the style that is part of our personal preference, right? So we don't have to necessarily have goodness in the normal sense, as in niceness, right? Niceness is optional, like nobility is optional, but goodness is the
Yes.
absence of badness. But that can be
Okay,
quite
just
flavorless. Yeah.
yes, yes. Just a
Yeah.
minute. Christopher
No
Abbott's
problem.
waving there. Yes. Hello. Hello, Christopher.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Hello, Christopher Abbott. I'm always glad when you come, as I'm glad when everybody comes. So very cool. So very cool. What does Christopher say? Oh, just says hello. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Brilliant. Hello, Christopher. A little wave there. Very cool. So this is a major topic, this, sure. And hello to Lubna. Always happy when you hear Lubna. Lubna, I am keen to hear your comments also. Yes. And
Yes.
you can say them in any language you like. Yes, I
Oh,
realize that.
yes.
Yeah, they can be translated. Beena will translate. So please
Yes.
comment, share your perspectives on whatever you grab. Ask. I would love to hear more from you, Lubna. I'd love to hear more from you. All right, now, sure. Just to continue back with what we add to tie it all together, right? No, no, Norma. Appropriate does need not this whole judging thing. No, throw that word judging out, Norma. Throw that word out. Appropriateness is doing what's right according to you and your conscience. What is right according to your goals and what's right according to the context. Right? Appropriateness is always determined by context and goal. In other words, in the same context, different actions can be either appropriate or inappropriate. It all depends what you're trying to do, right? If I'm trying to be bad and I do bad things, then my actions are appropriate relative to my intent. Yeah. Okay. Let's take, for instance, I'm in a movie and I'm playing a villain in the movie, and I'm doing all sorts of bad things or acting the bad things. But now I may be nasty to my co-star, right? Because I really get into my role. Am I being inappropriate? No, I'm being appropriate because that's what the role requires. And my co-star, who might be put out and bothered and upset by my nastiness in the scene, is going to afterwards say, wow, you really got me. You really made me upset, and fantastic acting. This is brilliant. Wow, so appropriate. See? So appropriateness is contextual, Norma, and it very much depends on what you're trying to do, your goals, your objectives, your motivations, your intent. So two things, context and intent. This is what determines appropriateness, right? It's not proper. That's that English Victorian thing. And it's gotten confused with appropriateness. Proper is somebody else trying to tell you what is appropriate. It's what's according to them appropriate. Oh, young ladies must do this, gentlemen must do this, right? Should, supposed to. That's not appropriateness. That's somebody's idea of forcing their views onto you, which is very inappropriate, of course, right? So we have to understand appropriateness. Very, very, very key. And this point of judging, if you don't judge, I've said this before, Manoma, and you keep forgetting this. So add it as an update to judging. If you do not judge, you have no morals. You are a very moralistic person, right? You want to be good. You want to do what's right. So you want to be moral. If you want to be moral, you have to judge. End of story. That's what being moral is. Right? What judging means is don't evaluate me according to your criteria. That's what has come to mean in modern things. That's just inappropriate. Right? I can't apply my personal preferences and standards to you. That's for you to decide. I can't force my stuff onto you. That taking my ideas and saying they must apply to you, that's what's inappropriate. In some cases, we say this, yes, and we don't think twice about it. I do take my standards of criminality and say they must apply to you. Yeah, see? So we have to judge. Otherwise, like I said, we're immoral. I think appropriate intent better than appropriate goodness. Goodness is not always clear. Yes, Joseph, absolutely. It depends on the individual. In general, though, when you ask people and you ask them very seriously, are you a good person? They will hesitate a little bit here and they say, well, I don't always, not always, but I say at root, at bottom in your heart, yes, yes, I'm a good person. See? And that's where the goodness comes from, because it's tied to self-conception, right? When you ask people, are you as appropriate? Do you have appropriateness as an intent? No, what are you talking about? This is not even in the conversation. So yes, intent to appropriateness rather than appropriate intent. It's a different thing. Yes, appropriate intent. Yes, we always want to have appropriate intent, but I'm saying as a force within us, the intent to appropriateness is as a guiding factor in our lives, means that will lead to us having appropriate appropriate intent, yes, right? It is the intent to appropriateness. It's a conception. And the intent to goodness is likewise something that goes to how we think of ourselves, right? Not to have a good intent. A good intent and an intent to goodness are two different things. I can have a good intent right now, but not have an intent to goodness. An intent to goodness is something that is pervasive. It is what your life path, your whole entire being is geared towards. A good intent is just one, and it can come and go. Right? I could have it, and it could get resolved, and the thing that I'm intending, it can come and be, and that's it. And then after that, I can do all sorts of other nonsense and bad things. See, so that's why appropriate intent, in general, we want. And if we have it in general and always, and it's ongoing, it becomes an intent to appropriateness, right? So the nuance of the two here is actually very important to discern the difference between appropriate intent, which again is like a good intent that can come. I can have an appropriate intent. In general, we want to have appropriate intent. And then we also want to shift this to say, I want my intent to be one that is taking me towards appropriateness in the bigger context, or goodness. Like I said, appropriateness doesn't have that flavor that goodness has, which is kindness, generosity, courtesy, politeness, etc. Yeah, that's flavoring. That's optional. Don't have to have it. That's why I like intent to goodness. Like you say, though, to say intent to appropriateness is really more accurate, as in terms of a bit more that says that can take care of anybody, depending on your personal style and predilection. If you don't have this, I don't care about courtesy, I just want to be appropriate. Okay, you're not required to be kind and courteous. You don't have to be that. That's optional. But it's just me personally that likes the same with Beena. And almost all people that I do know have an intent to goodness as their focus, as opposed to, not opposed to, but rather than an intent to appropriateness, which doesn't have that extra flavor. Now, is it appropriate to be good? Yes, in most circumstances it is, but it's not necessarily required. Yes, it's conducive, it's valuable, it's strategic, etc. So you can make the argument that, well, you kind of have to be good as part of appropriateness, but not necessarily. There are instances. So sometimes people need some metaphorical medicine that doesn't taste good. They think it is surely not good for them, but from a higher perspective, it is. And this is the whole understanding around the philosophy of facing and dealing with the awful truth. Yes. And when you do face and you do deal with the awful truth, you take that medicine, you actually find that it transforms from the awful truth to the awful truth, the awesome truth, right? To the truth full of awe. When you really deal with those things that you thought were so awful that you can't deal with them, when you face them and deal with them, it transforms. It suddenly becomes this fantastic, magical thing. I've seen it many, many, many times, over and over again. Right, Beena? We've seen this time and time again. Yeah, it's an incredible thing. So yes, that bitter medicine, it's more of a belief. It's more of a belief. I know, Beena, I thought it was very amusing, this bitter medicine. We were talking about bitter medicine. Yeah, Joseph, mostly this metaphorical medicine that doesn't taste good. Let's just call it really bitter medicine. Yeah, the bitter medicine is more of a belief than an actuality. I see this all the time. Yes, it may be uncomfortable and awkward, But that fear that you thought this is going to end my life, end my world, I'll never be able to do this. It's more imagined than real. Because I've seen people actually come and do this and face and deal with the awful truth. And it's transformative. It's magical. It's awesome. It's fantastic. It's the most brilliant thing either. Ask Sure. Ask Sure. Sure, has facing and dealing with the awful truth not been a profoundly awesome, rewarding, fantastic experience that left you with awesome truth? Sure? Yes, facts on the bitter medicine. Exactly. Judgment, like worldview, is directly related to one's growth. Absolutely, absolutely. Judgment is just bubble perspective normally, right? And again, when you see awareness and appropriateness, and we start to look at overview perspective, we start to avoid these pitfalls a lot easier. Yes, says Sure. Sure is answering my question about the awful truths in her life, facing and dealing them. It led to awesome truths, which she now has an abundance of in her life. So the point I want to make here also, that's very important, right? Exactly, Joseph. Joseph says a very important point here, which is exactly what I was about to say, just in different words. And Joseph says, your paradigm of moreness, capital M moreness, please, Joseph, thank you, if you don't mind. But no, it's not really critical, but it does make a difference, right? Because moreness is so profound, it can only be capitalized. It's so much more to it than a regular moreness. It's moreness on top of moreness. It's a philosophy, it's a culture, it's a way of being, right? And hence the capitalization. But again, that's me. Joseph says, your paradigm of moreness is not the worldview of the superiority paradigm. It is a higher level understanding. And Sure says, exactly, Joseph. And Joseph says, M. I'm not sure what the M means, but the typo or not. But yes, it is absolutely. It is a much more encompassing understanding. Again, I try and avoid terms like higher level, because that's part of the language of superiority paradigm. So I rather say something like moreness is a paradigm shifting awareness and understanding. Yeah? Paradigm shifting, which it's a moreness. It's a moreness understanding rather than higher level. See? Moreness understanding. It's capital M. Thank you. I got it now. I was too slow. Oh, Joseph just typed the capital M there. Yeah, I love it. Brilliant. Yes. Very cheeky, Joseph. I love it, man. I love it. Very cool. Brilliant. Yeah. The reason for that capitalization, it goes back to, it's part of Way-Of-Impeccability and the Dictionary of Power. And it's a discipline. And it's leveraging our understanding. And in Way-Of-Impeccability, there is an extremely sophisticated understanding of the power, the magic, the awesome that is emphasis, capital E emphasis. Capital E emphasis literally changes our brain, changes how we are. Yeah. Now, whenever we write and we say moreness and you capitalize it, what are you saying to your inner self? I call them the inner bureaucrats, right? Well, their mandate is to keep you alive. And so they screen everything. Is this valuable? Is this good? When you say capital M, they say, oh, this must really be important. They're bureaucrats. Yes, it is important. Therefore, brain, make sure that moreness becomes a part of my awareness, the concept of awareness, the conception of awareness, of moreness, right? Make sure that it's a part of my beingness. Because why? This capitalization says this isn't just an ordinary simple thing that's true. No, this is a really big deal. Like impeccability, we always capitalize it. Whenever you see my writing, impeccability, always capitalized. Same with awareness, same with appropriateness, same with attunement. Yeah. Why? Because these terms have more than the word means in general. Yes. I mean, generally attunement, well, I'm attuned to I don't know, the flow of the restaurant, and or the music or whatever. It's more local, it's more smaller. But attunement, it's not a spiritual activity in the sort of usual usage of the word. But capital A attunement, this is completely the most absolutely profound spirituality. Or you could say it's the same underlying intent behind religions, to be one with God, to follow the laws of God, if you want to put it this way, or the dictates of Allah, or the scriptures, or Krishna, Buddha, whatever, right? The more in harmony you are with that, and the more righteous you may be from a Christian theological point of view, really, the more in attunement you are with God, with the scriptures, with your teachings, with your religion. The problem with many religions are that if you get fully in attunement, they have so much contradiction to them, it makes it actually impossible to implement. And that's really heartbreaking for people who truly try, like those people that I grew up with, right? Very religious, very conservative religious people. Their intent to goodness was off the charts. I mean, this is what they practiced every day. They're trying to be good, trying to be good, trying to be good. They would say it too. Yes, and they, but what they thought they should do in order to be good was contradictory, and it led them to massive inadvertent hypocrisy, which killed them inside. It devastated them spiritually because they were too hooked on obedience. Obedience was the prime good, which comes from feudal culture, of course, right? Obedience, yeah, to make willing slaves, be obedient. Joseph says, what is capital B, Beena? Thank you, Sher. Sher says, I like that song. All right, let's ask Beena. What is capital B, Beena?
Exactly who I am right now.
Which is what?
Which
is who? Yeah.
Which is the intent
Who is
of the
Beena?
universe.
What is Beena?
Beena is just the intent of the universe, like anyone else.
So Beena, capital B, Beena, is the materialization of an intent of the universe.
Exactly.
Same with capital J, Joseph. Same with capital S, Sher. Same with capital N, Norma. Same with capital S, Syl. Same with capital C, capital A, Christopher Abbott.
Yes.
We are materializations of the intent of the universe. What is the intent of the universe?
In the conventional words, in our higher self.
Thank you. Thank you. Or God, or Allah, or Krishna, or Buddha, or whatever deity, the fairy queen, random, whatever your choice of deity, doesn't matter. The universe, yes? The intent. So in other words, we can just take out the word universe and say, we are a materialization of intent. We won't specify whose intent, what intent, from where the intent comes. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We are a materialization of intent. What a fantastic, fantastic answer. A fantastic answer. Now, what would, from our perspective, Beena, because I know we share this, what is the intent of the universe?
To enhance awareness, of course.
To enhance and develop awareness. Now you say, Syl, isn't that a belief? Not for me, it isn't. Not for Beena, it isn't. Initially, it is. It might be a belief temporarily. However, take it as something which can be proven to you by yourself. So therefore, it actually becomes a hypothesis. And take it as an hypothesis, which is, so the hypothesis, the hypothesis says, so Beena, the hypothesis says the intent of the universe is the enhancement and development of awareness. Or you could say the growth of awareness, this, the creation, right? But to enable awareness to happen. Yes, so you're going to say?
Yes. So just because Joseph asked me, it was like out of nowhere, I got this question. And that was like duh for me. This is how I respond. And why it was duh for me.
Right. Okay. So now let's connect that.
Yes. Okay. Just a minute. I just want to add something here. So yes. Okay. Why it was duh for me? Because this is something, it's an understanding. It is not something like, okay, oh, intuitively I said that. This was the understanding, who we are in the bigger picture. Okay. Of course you asked about me, but it is for everyone. We are a useful, very useful part of this universal intent or universe's intent.
Exactly.
So this is why we have to really appreciate ourselves. And of course, this is also connect to the question we Syl asked before, that we can be useless. We cannot be. By any means, we cannot be. Even the dead body is not useless.
Exactly. Well, I asked, is it okay to be useless?
Yes.
Which is a different question.
But we cannot be. So we cannot
because we are useful whether we choose to be or not.
Exactly.
Right? But really, when we go to that as a question of intent, you may want to and say, well, I'm just going to be useless. You're still going to be useful whether you want to be useless or not. You're still going to be useful. You can't escape it. But anyway, different topic. All right. So I want to connect this point of Beena saying that I am the product of an intent. Doesn't matter from where. Now, when
Yes.
we say, okay, universe intent and universe being a catch-all term for whatever you think is responsible, it doesn't matter. When we understand that intent, the overall bigger intent is the intent to the enhancement and development of awareness. Now, I was on that point of saying, don't treat it as a belief, treat it as a hypothesis. Like any hypothesis, in order for it to become a theory, right? Most people misunderstand and misuse the word theory. A theory is an intent that has been proven, a theory is an hypothesis that has been proven to be accurate and valid. So take this statement of the intent of everything is the enhancement and development of awareness and go and test it. Just apply it to your life and say, well, whatever happened to me, how does it enhance my awareness? Oh. The moment you ask that question, you suddenly see, oh my goodness, like I said, the example about bumping my toe. What does this do? Well, it makes me more careful. It makes me more thoughtful. It makes me more deliberate. It makes me learn to anticipate. Yes. It makes me feel my world around me when it's dark. It makes me cautious. It makes me not rush, etc., etc. And well, I couldn't avoid rushing. Well, yes, you could if you'd apply your life strategically ahead of time, right? So exactly, even a small, tiny thing when taken to its end, always going to end up in the enhancement and development of your awareness. What is stupidity that we call stupidity? What is badness? What is evil? Unawareness. That's it. Unawareness. So when we look at this, it is a hypothesis that proves itself just simply through, like Syl says, it's individually self-proven through self-discovery, precisely. And not just self-discovery, but simply asking and checking and seeing if this is valid. So in this case, I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to temporarily trust that I might have something with the statement, that it might just be true. All I'm asking is not belief, not trust. I'm simply asking for you to go and test it. Don't believe me. Test it yourself. If you test it, it will prove it to yourself. Like Syl says, it's self-proven. Self-proven. Just a quick thing. Christopher says it. I follow Thoth. So for Christopher Abbott, I'm assuming, therefore, Christopher Abbott, that you would say, who is Christopher Abbott, or what is the intent of Christopher Abbott? Well, I am the materialization of the intent of Thoth. Fantastic. What a fantastic discussion. Because here's the point, to me at least. All of what we talk, all of what we share, right? You asked, what is our intent, Joseph? And I need to come to the intent of acting without agenda. I'll come to it in a moment. When we look at our intent here, which is that intent to moreness, the intent to appropriateness, the intent to goodness, right? And the intent to enhance and develop awareness. Everything we do is this. In order to be appropriate, I need awareness. Camelius, the person behind Camelius in my story. Camelius said, what is the point of all of this awareness? What does it benefit you? Why do you need to have it? It's like, seems a lot of work and a lot of effort. He was talking to the new nobility in general, because he was on Nobelia, right? He was there as a delegate. So he's asking this question, why all this effort to enhance and develop your awareness? To what point? To what end? So what? I'm in my bubble of unawareness. I'm happy. What do I care? Awareness enables us to be more appropriate. And the more aware, the more I have an ability to be appropriate. And the ability to be appropriate is a self-evident sensibility. It's a self-evident usefulness and value. Now, we come back to the point I want to make. Everything we do, it's not theoretical. It's not just an ideology. No, it's always related to value and usefulness. That's it. So everything that we're sharing always comes down to value and usefulness. To understand that intent, how intent works. I understand that the universe, everything, life, the world, everything around me is geared to the enhancement and development of my personal intent. It is intimately personal to me what happens to me, right? It gives me the lessons I need to learn. This is an incredible value and usefulness, because I'm raising and enhancing my awareness, which enables me to be more appropriate. The more appropriate I am, the easier my life is, the more joyful my life is, the more fulfilling my life is, the more moreness I have in my life, etc., etc., right? So the value and usefulness is the prime criteria for determining absolutely everything we need to do. Because at the bottom, we are energy beings. Just go into your physics, study Einstein and all of that, right? And you'll understand that our physicality is simply a formatting, a particular formatting of energy, right? But at bottom, we're all energy. Anything, it's all energy. And as such, how we utilize and employ that energy is the big issue of our lives, right? And when we understand that we have somewhat limited energy, now we have to say, do I just want to spend my energy and run my store down, or do I want to invest it? Yeah? Most people spend their energy. Way of impeccability is all about investing your energy. Whenever I employ my energy as an investment, I get a return later. So therefore, I may temporarily go down a bit, but overall, when those investments start to yield, I start going up again and I build my energy. Yeah? Very big difference. Talk about usefulness and value. Just think about when you wake up in the morning and you've got high energy, you had a really good sleep. Everything is joyful, everything is splendid, everything is marvelous, everything is extra. Our perception of the world is very, very energy dependent. Not just our perception, but our relation, our experience of the world is massively energy dependent. The higher your energy, the more positive, the more beneficial, the more superlative. Yes. If you want to experience bliss, rapture, ecstasy, elation, all of those superlatives, those require energy. Yeah. And this is what the power plants do. They leverage your energy. They suck energy from one place and redirect it. They concentrate that energy. That's the price you pay because you're pulling energy from elsewhere. That's why it can lead to physical problems, emotional problems, psychological problems. Because if you don't rest appropriately and you don't balance that and restore that energy, and sometimes it may not even be possible to do that. Yeah, that's the price you pay. That redirection, concentration of energy. So this all comes back down to best use of energy, which is impeccability, right? To go to our intent. I'll come to acting without agenda in a moment. I want to just read Sher's comments. I came on, says Sher, with the intent to listen and nothing more, and open my mind while I work. I'm convinced it was the intent of the universe that I'd be here this morning to bring me to a deeper capital U understanding. See the use of the capitalizations there. It's a discipline that we remind us to emphasize what is massively valuable, right? So you came with the capital I intent, right? Sure. Yes. And yes, to connect to the universe. But you did later capitalize it. So very cool. It's a magical thing. It's a magical thing. Just little techniques that it just leverages us to more, right? Capital L leverage. Very, very, very powerful. It's being strategic. Again, capital S strategy, leveraging that energy. Beena, anything to add to all of this? Yes, I know, sure. I'm just emphasizing it because of the capitalization comment earlier. And it's part of our discipline, right? And also, when you are being disciplined and you're typing and you're putting those capitals, you have to go a little bit slower. You have to be more deliberate. You have to be really paying attention to what you're doing. So when you're paying attention, that's power. Attention and intent are intimately linked together. Capital A, attention, is a power. It is a power, and it's a power we do not always realize we possess. Sometimes we pay attention to things inappropriately, and then we bring more of it into our lives because now it becomes an intent via that attention. We have to be very, 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 very scrupulously careful. We have to be impeccable with our attention. Yes, we have to be impeccable with our attention. Medicine plants allow you to communicate with higher powers. Yes, exactly. Yeah, at least particular medicine plants, not all. I mean, if you maybe take a medicine plant for your digestion, that's not necessarily going to connect you to higher powers or spiritual entities, etc. But some of them absolutely. And this is one of their potencies, their magicness, their morenesses, right? That's a very powerful thing. Again, Joseph, as valuable and awesome as that is, for me personally, and likewise for Beena, because we discussed this, so I can she shared that she shares this perspective. For me, I wish to come to my moreness, my independence of being, via my own intrinsic doings. I want to develop the skills of being able to figure it out for myself, to create it, to have the skills of character and being, right? So that it is me that is the higher power that is getting me to where I want to go. Why? Because if I am getting my guidance, my knowledge from a higher power, that can lead to a dependency of spirit and being, which I feel is longer term psychologically somewhat limiting. Because if you are able to access that higher power at all times, okay, not a problem. But that's not really feasible and realistic, because you use the power plants to do so. And the power plants have a physical price that you pay. They're taxing on the body, they're taxing on the psychology, they're taxing on the spirit, they're taxing on the emotions. So you cannot do it all the time. You can do it relatively, with some frequency, but also there has to be some infrequency that you can restore. And therefore, you aren't able to have access to that every single second of your day, whereas you have access to yourself every single second of the day. For me, this is a much strategically more valuable point. Now, I realize people have lives and the circumstances and situations where this focus, like we are doing here, where your focus on this learning and growing is every single second of the day. I realize that's not viable for some people. So fine, then you find other things. That's why there are different paths, right? And the different paths are there because we have different lives. And of necessity, we're going to have different lives. So it is following a path that is as appropriate, and a path with heart. Yes, this is absolutely crucial. Yes. So power plants with discipline, of course, absolutely. Exactly. You use power plants like you go to war. Exactly. Right. With awareness, with self-assurance, with doubt, which is fear. I call it doubt rather than fear. And with complete self-assurance. That's how we go to knowledge as we go to war. Yeah? Somewhat paraphrased, but very accurately shared nonetheless. Right? So yes, very important. In other words, that when you're using power plants, you used to use your impeccability. That's it. You have to be impeccable. That's why Way of Impeccability is such a potent title. It is not just using impeccability here and there. When it's way of, that means, and it is in the word itself, that you are making impeccability a way of living. In other words, it applies to everything you do. It's not occasionally I'm being impeccable. No, it's my way. Everything I do, and my way is to be impeccable, right? So that's why Way of Impeccability is such a very, very powerful title. And a lot went into it, right? It's not come by aid. It was just, oh, that's a good name for it. No, a lot went into it. Because when we have impeccability as our way of living, our way of being, both together, way of living and way of being, they're not exactly the same. They're slightly different, right? But when we have them both, where our way of living is a way of impeccability, it's always being impeccable. Our way of being is always being impeccable. That's our way. We can't do anything else. That's our way. Right? We don't even think of doing anything else. It's unthinkable. Right? That's our way. Then the power of it really comes through. Yeah, because you cannot have 99% impeccability. Can't be. It has to be 100. Yeah. It's like honesty or criminality. Okay,
No,
you can
but
get a.
I have a question. I have a
Yeah.
question right there,
Yeah.
okay, because I don't feel that, okay, I am impeccable 100% all the time. So it is like I'm trying to be. So then,
But that's the intent to impeccability. The actuality doesn't matter. A way of impeccability means I have an intent to impeccability. I know I'm not going to succeed. Same in my goodness, same in my appropriateness. I know I'm not going to succeed. The intent is what makes the difference. The intent is what fills in that gap. Why? Because intent is a collaboration between me and moreness. Instead of saying the universe, let's just call it moreness. Yeah. It is a collaboration. It's leveraging that which I do not have access to consciously and deliberately sometimes. It's accessing that which I don't know, right? Intent allows me to connect and fill in that part that I cannot do on my own just yet. Hopefully, as time goes by, I will be able to more and more have less and less of these gaps. But it is the intent that makes the difference. Yes? Correct,
Yes.
correct. Now again, intent is somewhat superlative to trying, but that's what Syl says. Even trying, the intent to goodness, I see that trying is being impeccable. Precisely, precisely. But we can try, and well, I tried, and I can try without being impeccable. Yes, I mean, how often haven't you heard stuff? Well, you probably know it with a teenager that you look after, that you take care of, right? Well, yeah, I tried, and that trying wasn't an impeccable effort. See, so we have to be careful of trying, because trying doesn't necessarily being impeccable. But when you are impeccable, you try. Yes, and you try in the utmost. You try thoroughly. You try with discipline. You try with diligence. You try with thoroughness. You try with scrupulousness. You try with conscientiousness, thoroughness. Yeah. So impeccability is trying in the most absolute sense of the word. So that's why I prefer impeccability to trying, because again, like I said, trying can be compromised. And a lot of people assuage their conscience, right? They salve, they patch over their conscience. They know they didn't do everything that they could have done. Yeah, what's the matter? Well, I tried. No, you didn't really try. You made a token effort. So don't give me this BS. You're just trying to sound as if you're okay. You're trying to just patch your conscience. Nah, not going to work. Be impeccable. That's all there is to it, right? So yeah, it just nuance of terminology. That's why the conceptions that we use, right? Like in this case, trying, it's a conceptionality rather than just a word. That's why Way of Impeccability, an alternative name for it, is the language of conceptionality, the clarity of conceptionality. To conceive of what we are doing is very important. So trying is yes, in the usual way, it is a partial conception, not a complete conception. Yes. So therefore, using it incompletely isn't so ideal. If you had said, sure, capital T trying as a synonym for impeccability, no problem. Yeah. But the regular use of the word trying in the way it's generally meant, that conception, see, not good. But capital T trying, wow, that means going all the way. By implication, right? The moment you say capital T trying, it shifts, right? Sure. Now it's okay. Now it's what you meant, not what you said, but what you meant. Yeah. So the capital T trying and impeccability, yes, same thing. Very powerful. So again, see, conceptionality, we start to differentiate between what we mean and what we say, and between the moreness and what the extra is, etc. Right. So really conceiving of our words, our terms, and transforming them from words and terms to conceptions, absolutely crucial. Crucial. If you just listen to explanations and authors, whatever, anything, and you start paying attention to the conception, you say, wow, okay, well, that doesn't really make much sense. It doesn't, because we see that the conception is not fully fleshed out. The conception is lacking. When we have this really clarity of intent when it comes to the conception, clarity of conceptionality, then everything changes, because now we are talking about the same things. Yeah. Thank you for clearing that up. Oh, I read it at first when my eye just glanced over it. I said, I read it, thank you for cheering me up. But, then I looked more carefully and zoomed in and said, no, in that microsecond between my eyes focusing. Yeah. I hope it did cheer you up as well at the same time. And I suspect it did, because learning and growing and awareness and moreness always cheers us up, right, sir? Always cheers us up. So I want to stress something, just for Christopher Abbott and Joseph. Syl is aware of this, and of course Beena too, and Norma to some extent also. But what we are doing here is not just sharing our ideas and beliefs. We are sharing a comprehensive totality. We are sharing a system. Yes, it is an alive system that is constantly improving, much like my computer. Now, the fact that I get upgrades to my computer, does that mean my computer is not serving my needs wonderfully? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is a fantastic thing. I use it every day and it serves my needs. Does it mean it cannot be upgraded? Of course it does. But that doesn't mean it is not useful and valuable as it is. So what we are sharing is essentially a life operating system. And much, much, much has gone into this life operating system. Yeah, an incredible amount. It's not something that's casually come by. I'm not just sharing what I believe that I picked up from a meme here and a meme there. No, this has really been extensively thought through to the end. Multiple perspective shifting. It's been tested thoroughly, thoroughly tested, verified, substantiated, everything. Right? But there's a completeness to it, a cohesion to what we're sharing. Way of impeccability is part of the overall Moreness culture, which comprises capital H hearing and understanding the superiority paradigm. And as a bonus, if that's your predilection, understanding motivation and goal and what enhances us, which is the nobility aspect. It's not about you saying, oh, you have to have this. No, it's understanding it as a bigger point of knowing where you wish to be. It's understanding motivation and intent, right? So there's a lot of more to that. It's also understanding application and doing and implementation. So it all works together. But that what I'm really trying to share is that what we are sharing, as Syl just verified there, is a cohesiveness of an operating system that really does work. It works inordinately well. Syl will attest to this, Beena will attest to this, all the other participants will attest to this. But the key to it is to implement it. And it's not my system. Yes, I put it together, but it's a system that is a system of the universe. Like, okay, you may have, Windows as your operating system, but is that the only operating system? No. No? Does it matter if you are looking to do whatever computing tasks you're doing? Does it matter whether you have Windows or Apple or whatever one of the other systems that are out there, right? I forget their names now, which I'm surprised at. No, it makes no difference what Apple. Some may work better for some things than others. At the end of the day, they all work, right? It doesn't matter. So whether this is now mine, my system has a lot of things that are similar to Don Juan's. Yes, because they basically rely on programming in this, like if it was a literal operating system, they are processing data in some way. They are calculating and they're all doing similar things, just in different ways. It doesn't matter what you use. Now, is there considerable differences between, the very early, like DOS and Windows? Yeah, massive differences, right? I mean, if you ever used actual DOS as your basic operating system, which you had to program things yourself, which is where we find ourselves in life. I don't know how far back you might go, Christopher Abbott, but I suspect, Joseph, you go back far enough to remember when you bought a computer, it came with a blank screen with a cursor blinking. And you're like, well, at that time, we didn't have anything to compare to. Oh, okay. And then you got a programming book, you got the DOS manual, and later it was BASIC, the programming language BASIC. At very first, it was just DOS, right? Very quickly, it didn't take very long before you also got BASIC with it. And then later on, you got learned other like Pascal and Fortran and stuff. Fortran was for business, Pascal was more general. Anyway, you had to learn to be a programmer to use your computer. You had to learn to be a programmer to use your computer. This was early days of computing. This is where we find ourselves in life, right? We need to learn to program ourselves, and we need to learn the language of programming. Yes. Now, if you look at programming language, you got machine code, and then you got BASIC, and as the languages evolved, right? And today, like A++ and all the modern programming languages, right? I don't even know what they're called anymore. Basically, the modern programming languages are not that far from your innate language, like English, in this case, mine. Yeah. And so the languages, as the programming languages developed, they got closer and closer to English. Now, what I've done is take English as a language of conceptionality and extend it into a language of conceptionality. And that's what Way of Impeccability is. It is a language of conceptionality, which is another way of saying it is a programming language for our spirit, our psyche, ourselves. Yeah. So Way of Impeccability, language of conceptionality, and the conceptionality. When you look at higher level programming languages, right, you've got an overall term and you use that term and it means a lot of sub things. And in the programming language, that term means certain things, and there's a layeredness, there's a whole nested layer of things that term does. So they're little programs inside the bigger program, which is that languaging term, that languaging conception. Yeah. You see? So this is what we have in our language. I've just combined the two and I've made a self-programming language, right? Which is the language of conceptionality, way of impeccability. It is profound. Syl says, I'm a Commodore 64 man since 1985. I salute you, Commodore Christopher Abbott. Now that I think of it, isn't there a character in Star Trek called Commodore Christopher Abbott? Or maybe an admiral, but I don't know why that seems to be somewhere there's a Commodore called Christopher Abbott. Wow, okay. Brilliant, brilliant, Christopher. That's quite an accomplishment to still be on Commodore since 1985. That is profound. And Syl says, in reference to, I assume, way of impeccability, it's truly a way of living that brings great value, capital V value, to my daily life. She didn't put capital V, I'm putting it in there, but yes, it's brought capital V value because, sure, regular value is like, well, I got extra money and I got extra friends or whatever, right? But capital V value is spiritual peace of being, understanding, awareness, right? That's why I capitalize capital value. It is truly a way of living that brings great value to my daily life. I learn and evolve every day because of application of each conceptionality. Yes, capital A, application. Yeah. I realize, especially on the phone, to do the capitals is a bit of a pain. But, I'm reading that emphasis and it changes. Yeah, yeah. Exactly. You use VTT, and that's why I don't give you a hard time about your capitalization, as an applicant, as a participant of Way-Of-Impeccably, because I know the phone doesn't make it conducive at all. But that's why I read it with the emphasis, because I know what you mean. As part of my capital, it's hearing, right? Exactly. It makes a difference. It makes a capital B difference. It makes a profound difference. So I really want to emphasize that what Beena and I are sharing, part of our intent is sharing this moreness. We are sharing an operating system for ourselves, for people, for individuals. And like when you get an operating system, yeah, it applies to whatever computer you're on. Okay, you need to use some on some computers. Well, there's software that allows you to use Apple on a PC and vice versa, right? You can use it anywhere. However, if you have a Commodore 64 and you're trying to run Windows 11, not going to work. Yeah. So it is very key. But yes, the point that I want to make, your computer does not come with baggage. It doesn't come with a personality. It doesn't come with a DNA heritage of wanting to do things in a certain way, right? It doesn't have legacy tendencies. We do as people. Therefore, we cannot have an operating system that is like our operating system, Windows, Apple, whatever, right? Linux, that's the word I'm looking for, Linux. We can't have those. Why? Because computers are all the same, essentially. They kind of come blank, yeah? Now, some of them may be a gaming computer and it's got a little bit of different hardware. So there's some variation, but not significant. People, however, come as profoundly different setups, at least by the time we come to programming ourselves. Therefore, the ideal operating system for people needs to be one that is adaptive to the individual, that the individual can customize according to their own specific needs and importances. That's what Way of Impeccability is. And the greater Moreness culture. It is a customizing operating system. It innately and automatically gets customized by you. The whole dictionary of power. Yes, it is a concept, the dictionary of power. But Syl has a dictionary of power, and it's called Syl's dictionary of power. Beena has a dictionary of power, and it's called Beena's dictionary of power. Yeah, it's not an absolute thing, and it's created by Beena. Yeah, she puts what's important to her in it. She elucidates on what's important to her. She writes out her extended understanding, what's important to her. See? So you building your operating system. All I'm providing is the tools to build your operating system. Right? So I'm providing an operating system for creating a personal operating system. That's what Way-Of-Impeccability is. And all the other programs too. Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit further. So it's incredible. It makes all the difference. So I really am trying to emphasize the point that what we are sharing is part of a complexity and a sophistication that is extensive and that is very thorough and very, very sophisticated, like Windows or Apple or Linux, all of these things. They are very sophisticated things, yes? Just by way of what they do, they are extremely sophisticated. And there's a lot that's gone into them. When you use your computer, you might not even be aware of all of the sophistication that's going on. Well, I put on the computer and I go on the browser and that's it, right? You don't even realize all the things that need to happen for you to actually do that. Yeah. Same in life. We are going into the things that do this and make a difference, because if you don't know how it works, like in your computer, you can only end up with lots of bloatware and all sorts of viruses and all sorts of stuff on your computer. Yeah. So like a computer awareness, we need to have awareness of how we work as people, so that when we come to building and designing and customizing our own operating system, using an operating system for creating operating systems, we don't fall into those pitfalls, and we can basically construct and build and further and enhance and develop ourselves, build our character, which character is your operating system. Personality is the programs that you've downloaded. Yeah, you understand the difference. But character, because when you reboot your computer, yes, you've still got those programs loaded, but rebooting clears out your temporary memory and stuff like that, right? You keep the core things. You still have the same computer when you get rid of all your software. Yeah. But when you change your operating system, well, now you're seriously changing your computer. Yeah. We want to be able to have an appropriate operating system. Beena, what do you say? While you say it, I'm just going to step away. I'll hear you, but you won't hear me. Are you there, Beena?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
yes. Yeah. Please share. Please share. I'll just stepping away temporarily, but I can hear you, but the mic has
Okay,
to
no
stay here.
problem, no problem. Okay, while you were talking about using the analogy of computer, and my computer is acting weird right now. But anyway, at least I'm thankful that it's not messing up with the with my Zoom connection. Everything else is just acting weird and funny. But this is very interesting, and also that, okay, using this analogy, as Cher was mentioning about the intent. Of course, in the beginning, it was like getting started with this topic, because Joseph asked a very earnest question. It was very, very wonderful, because it never goes out of my mind. I was like, okay, oh yes, now I need to share more about this, and that is the magic of earnestness. That Syl always used to say that, and I was not getting it, because he says that earnestness pulls so much out of, and I was like, yes, because he always have something to say. And of course, because he can talk about anything in the world. Okay, that was my idea. This is how you appreciate your friends also. But I was just saying, assuming that it is not because of the earnestness, but actually earnestness is the magic. And when we are talking about the intent, and we being an intent, universe's intent, or materialization of the intent, because I personally do truly believe in that our life is actually just an intent. And I wrote a poem. I really feel proud of myself, because the topic is so complex, but I wrote a poem about life and death, and how this intent is actually
Pull it up, Beena. Pull up that poem. Let's read it.
everything.
It's appropriate. Let's read that poem.
I cannot do this right now, because my laptop is not working.
Can I access it? Do I have it in our joint poem file?
Yes, it would be definitely there.
What is it called? What is it called?
It's just call intent, and you will see that. Okay, life, cycle of life. Actually, the name of the poem is Cycle of Life. And
Okay.
okay, so the earnestness, it is not only for Syl, it is for universe also.
Yeah.
People do talk about the vague idea of how actually the materialization of anything happens in our life. Like, okay, yes, the law of attraction, law of assumption, which is not, of course, according to my understanding, not entirely false, but yes, it has a lot of flaws in it, a lot of vagueness in it. But earnestness, it's like a magic. It works like a magic spell, really.
It's completely, absolutely magical. It's completely,
Yes. So
absolutely magical.
when you are earnest with your intents and you earnestly connect it with the universe intent,
Yes,
boom,
yes, yes, yes.
boom. And this doesn't mean that you have to be always very serious. I always say that when I feel something like, okay, really, okay, I use the word amusing because I need to have some smile when I think about it, because it is a bit crazy that, oh, right now the circumstances are not in the favor, okay, my capacity and all sort of things, but it's still the idea amuses me, like it still gives me a
Yeah,
smile that, oh, that would be fun to do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Things
yeah.
happen immediately because in those moments I'm earnest. Yes,
Yes,
I'm
yes,
smiling, but I'm earnest
yes,
and
yes.
I'm
So
having a joy, no resistance.
exactly to answer
Eh,
Joseph's question, you see what power your earnest question had, Joseph, about our
yes,
intent for doing these shows. It is an intent to share our earnestness, or an intent to really uh, to to um, to enable our earnestness to come out. We have an earnest intent to goodness, and earnest intent to appropriateness, and an absolute fundamental, profoundly deep, earnest intent to enhance and develop our awareness. This
yes,
is just the materialization, the application, the practice of that intent.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
One quick point, and then we read your poem. I want to say also that part of attunement is learning to act without agenda. In the Dictionary of Power, that's act hyphen without a capital W hyphen capital A agenda, right? It's
Say it
the
again.
hyphens, right?
Say it again, please.
It's to learn to act without agenda, or the conception itself is actually acting without agenda. So what we are doing, part of our intent, is applying and practicing acting without agenda. Why is this so important? Why is this so crucial when it comes to attunement? Now, agenda means our own personal things, own goals and that, right? So I don't want to go too much into agenda, but why is it so crucial with attunement? Why? Because sometimes we are asked to do things that are going to have an effect that we cannot see, perceive, or connect to, an effect somewhere else, a consequence somewhere else. We're part of a machine. We call, right? Now, our specific action might not directly lead to that, but we call part of a greater pattern. Yeah. So our trust in the universe and our trust in attunement thus says, when I'm asked, I do it. Whether I personally can see the value or the sensibility or not makes no difference. I have to be able to do whether I can see or not. Why? Because I can't see the future. I can't see the bigger picture. And that ability to act without agenda is absolutely crucial. So one of the reasons that we do this is because we're acting without agenda. There is no specific reason. It's just this came about and we do. We don't ask. We don't care. It doesn't matter. Very, very powerful. All right. Let me screen share, and then I want to read Beena's poem, and we shall end with that. Right? Very
Okay.
appropriate. Very appropriate. All right. Here we go.
Yes.
Here we go. Here we go. Let's wait for the screen to clear. Being just an idea floating in space, an embryonic planet, scrambled array of cells, no space for light to fill. What happens then? Intent, breathe, light passing through, creating space in between, arranging cells, creating patterns, opening possibilities, moving ahead. Intent, reset, patterns dismantle, arrays implode, ruination begins, purification smirks, space within meets space eternal, cycle of life. Beena Sidd.
Yes. This is who we all are.
Yes.
This is how our life starts.
One quick comment on that question as who is capital B Beena. Yeah.
Yes.
This
Yes.
first line, it can be like this,
Yes.
right? Rather than
Being.
saying it as your name, right? It's still Beena,
Yes. Oh, wow,
but
wonderful.
now It's been just an idea. Being, in other words, beingness is just an idea. So to me,
Yes.
we have to go, but that's a good edit, and I can leave it, right?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now it's
Yes.
also a very creative play on that capital
Oh
B,
yes.
Beena.
Oh yes.
See,
Okay.
Beena,
Yes.
the idea, it was just, just an idea. It was an idea. Being
And
just an
exactly
idea.
that's
See?
why, Joseph, your question when you asked me, and it was like, oh, very, very profound question, and also a very, very
Yeah.
difficult question to answer.
Oh
Okay,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm taking this like, okay, yes, oh my God. But it was because I have this understanding that who we
Yeah.
are, not
Yeah.
only me, and of course we
Yeah.
all are. And that is a proof that, okay, yes, I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about life and death, and of course intent also.
Yeah.
This poem is actually a materialization or the fruit of that thought process, that thinking about these things. And exactly as Sir mentioned, that this poem is actually a wonderful, wonderful response to your question.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the
It's
one of the
fantastic.
one of the
It's
responses.
fantastic.
Yes.
And it's such a potent expression of that moreness, that ineffability of being, which is when we really start to understand that, that's why I edited that there, because I hear Beena's intent to say Beena as a conception is just an idea, and it's floating in space. It's embryonic, right?
Yes.
It's very
Yes.
profound. And when we unhook from that, and we start to say me as to who I am and what I am is an ineffability. Now look that word up if it doesn't resonate, if it's not obvious from context, right?
Yes.
I
Okay.
mean, you can figure it out from context. That's why I don't always elaborate on these terms, because if you listen
Yes.
and you apply contextual discernment, you can figure it out. The word itself says what it is: ineffable. That ineffability, really what we are is an ineffability, right? Beingness, and that's where we want to be. Have that ineffable. In other words, we are able to be whatever as appropriate. We can, with this loose collection of atoms and molecules, let's just say for argument's sake, that can coagulate into a particular configuration as appropriate, on demand. This is the ultimate of appropriateness: to be able to adapt and be fluid and flexible. It can be appropriate in the moment. Yeah. So
Yes.
our ideas of ourselves, we have to throw them away because they limit us. They keep us in a particular configuration, not ideal. Yes, not ideal. What a
Yes.
fantastic
Yes.
poem. I actually want to read it again, just to let it sink in. All right, here we go. Oh, you want to read it, Beena?
No, please do read. You are reading it
Okay.
wonderfully. And
Okay.
again, Joseph, because Sil mentioned about and then he elaborate and elucidate the topic of death, his perspective. And
Yeah.
this is okay, just in a poetic
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
This is the crux of what he was sharing,
Yeah.
because intent reset, patterns
Yeah.
dismantle, and of course now we are going to be a new creation.
Exactly.
It's in somewhere, some
Exactly.
other dimension.
Exactly. Different cycle of life. So Lubna says, hey, hello, Lubna. Hello, marvelous Lubna. Also want to say hello to Samantha Barnes. So wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful, wonderful. All right, here we go again. Venus Magical Poem, which kind of needs a title, I think, Veena. It really needs a title. Yeah? Maybe Cycle of Life is the title, or
Yes.
Ineffability of Being could be a title too. But anyway, here goes the poem. Being just an idea floating in space, an embryonic planet, scrambled array of cells, no space for light to fill. What happens then? Intent breathe, light passing through, creating space in between, arranging cells, creating patterns, opening possibilities, moving ahead. Intent reset, patterns dismantle, arrays implode, ruination begins, purification smirks, space within meets space eternal, cycle of life. What an incredible poem, Beena, an incredible poem.
Yes.
Coming soon, by the way. This is it's in a poem file of my poems and Venus poems that we
Yes.
consider to be real poems, and
Yes.
these will be published at some point as a book. And the book will be called Real Poems. Very cool,
Yes.
very cool, very cool. I mean, we can do probably a week's worth of capital or reading on this poem to really go into all the nuance and uh,
Yes.
there's so much here.
Yes.
There's so much here.
Yes.
There's so
That's
much
what I'm
here.
saying. Okay, I'm kind of like, yes, this is something I feel that, okay, oh, this poem is bigger than me. Yes, let's put it that
Now,
way.
let me ask you, Beena, just to put it in
Yes.
context. Did
Yes.
this poem come from you or did it come through you?
Oh, now you made it very clear. Yes, through me.
Exactly. Joseph says, suggest the title, Being Beena. Yes.
Oh wow. Thank
Yeah.
you so much,
But
Joseph. Yes.
right, Joseph, again, I would adjust that to spelling Beena with a hyphen
Yes.
because
Being.
being a in the I have been a something or other. And this is about letting go of that specific beingness or being, right? But it's past tense to say been. Being a means I was a something. I've been a something, right? Being a. So when you look at beena in that sense now, put the hyphen, being, being a, being something that is not what it was. Letting go,
Oh,
in other
yes.
words. Yeah. So yes, being Beena. Are you happy with that as a title, Beena?
Oh, this is wonderful. We will
All
come
right.
back to it.
Well, I'm going to
Yes.
add it in there for the time being
Yes.
as
Oh,
a
yes.
title that's come from attunement. See how attunement
Yes.
works? So magical, so absolutely magical, absolutely magical. But that the shift here to understand the difference between Beena, her name, and being a. Yes, it's a play on her name, but it is a most incredibly profound play on her name. Yes,
Yes.
makes a very big difference. So, and to say being a, this is a nuanced sophistication of awareness that you have to apply. I'm being not what I was. I yeah, I've been a what? I'm not that now. I'm being other than the specificness. Fantastic, fantastic marvelousness, right? Now, by the way, uh, that I have really good editing skills. And when I edit Venus poems, like in this case, I tap into Venus intent. I know what Bina means, right? And that which says being just an idea, right? It's the same as being just an idea. But the just adds to taking what she's saying and gives it it's more clear what she's trying to say. Yeah. So my editing isn't about putting my opinions and my ideas. It is, and I take this very, very seriously. I'm utterly earnest about this. So when I read, I set a very, very profound and deep intent to tap into Venus intent. Yes. And that's why I always check. But I have the skill and ability because we do a lot together. So I'm not adding my stuff. This is me just enabling Vina to express what she meant to express extra, right? Further. So it's very powerful combination. It doesn't change what Vina was intending to say. Yeah. And so this just enhances that intent, right, Vina?
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool,
Yes.
very cool. And you see how she's Beena for her poetry, right?
Yes.
Not Beena Sidd, but Beena. Subtle things, subtle things. What we do is very sophisticated and lots of subtlety, and that sophistication adds a moreness. But it's not always easy to notice at first. Yeah, we have to get
Yes.
acclimatized to it. We have to get acclimatized to it. And very, very potent, very powerful. All right, once again, we didn't do any reading, but that's okay. This is the magic of it. See, this is life on Nobelia. This is Nobelia-Living. This is Moreness-Living. This is Moreness-Culture as appropriate. The higher intent must always, again, I'll use higher here now because I'm saying this specifically for you, Joseph. The overall intent rather than higher. I prefer overview or the overview intent. That must always come first. When we are looking at appropriateness, we mustn't start with the immediate or the internal appropriateness and then take our immediate, then take our local, intermediate, and no, we have to go the other way around. Be appropriate according to the most absolute, most important intent, which is your life intent. Then bring it down to making it appropriate in your day-to-day life. Yeah, it's much easier, much simpler. But then you're also ensuring that whatever you're doing is always taking care of the bigger intents, because we can go through life taking care of the smaller, the local, the short-term intents, and never get to fulfill the higher intent, and that's no good. Yeah, and we end up thinking that, well, I was always doing what is appropriate. You're only doing what is appropriate temporarily, locally, short-term, not dealing with the bigger issues, right? How many people say, oh, I've heard this so many times, right? You bring up a topic. Oh man, that's like really a heavy topic. And yes, I know it's something that I need to pay attention to and I should be paying attention to, but yeah, not right now, it's too heavy for me. And they keep putting it off, and they never ever get to deal with those issues that they know they need to deal with. Never. They go through their whole lives not dealing with it. Yeah. So we have to be very careful of this. Have to be very careful of this. What awesomeness. Now, to me, this is Nobelia-Living. This is what the whole book series, which will come later, we'll share it. But this Moreness-Culture, what we are doing today, this is Moreness-Culture in action. By the way, just something to mention. At some point coming in the relative near future, I will start and do a cycle of Way-of-Impeccability that will be available to everybody. And we'll do it as a group. We'll do it live. We'll do it on, via the same medium now, right? But I know whoever wants to join it, I'll send you the materials. I will ask for an investment of some kind. Why? Because I want to leverage your earnest commitment. Yeah? Yes. If you're invested, then if it's free, people aren't always that committed to finishing and doing all the tasks and exercises. But if you're paying for it in a small way, and I'll ask relative to the individual to say, what can you pay that's going to make you go, kind of squirm a little bit. I don't really want to spend this right now, but what if I really have to? Yeah? Now you're leveraging your earnestness and your seriousness, because that's what I want. I want people who are here earnestly, not like, oh, well, it's free, I might as well do it. No, that's not a good intent. Yeah, I need that commitment. I don't need the money. I need the commitment. Yeah. So, all right, the money's a bonus and it helps me, but that's not why I want it. Again, it's not relevant. Your earnestness and the commitment is there. Right? So I'm going to open this up. So if you guys want to do it, Joseph, Christopher Abbott, Norma, sure, you may want to redo it. Anybody else? I'll open this up to everybody, right? And we'll do it as a group, which is going to have profound value. We've done very small groups. I tried to overlap the participants, so they didn't always come as a group, just overlap somewhat. And sometimes they stayed for the whole session. This is incredible value to doing with group. Incredible value, because you get that extra multiple perspective shifting. Yeah. Now, of course, the personal also has value. It's plus and minus. It's a trade-off. But especially if people are in need of therapy, then the personal is, because a lot of times this was an issue, right? That they needed therapy stuff, right? Getting their stuff sorted, and then it's a different thing, a different deal, right? But that right now, that will require substantial commitment, because I would have to really take time, which I can make it, but it will take away from something else. So there needs to be balanced compensation. So I'm not particularly focused on doing individual, unless it comes my way by attunement, of course, or somebody has a strong need for it. But group, I feel this would be very valuable to do. Yes, Beena? And likely we'll do it after we start our TV show, the Moreness Show, because then I'll open that up there too. And from that audience, and then start to share the things, and and be able to share that as part of the Moreness Show. Right, Beena? Does that make sense? Exactly. Sorry, I know I just tried to drop this on you here, because it's something we'll do together. But it's an idea. And that's why I said likely I'll do it, because I'll have to discuss it with Beena, because Beena will be a part of it. So I think it sounds like a good idea right now, right, Beena?
Absolutely. Yes. Amazing. Yeah. And what a wonderful opportunity.
Yes, because I feel that we're sharing so much here. And I was saying specifically today for Joseph and Christopher Abbott, to make it very clear that, if you just come, well, they come fairly regularly, but you still might not really be aware at the extensive, comprehensive cohesiveness. This is it. Extensive, comprehensive, and cohesive. But those two keywords, comprehensive and cohesiveness of what we're sharing. It's not just ideas, stuff that we're living, that we picked up here and there. No, we are sharing something that is shareable in itself, that you can also acquire. In other words, we're sharing a toolbox. We're sharing a programming language. And that's very important to understand. We are not sharing the finished product. We are sharing tools, 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 tools. We are sharing a programming language that you go and you write your own operating system from. This is very key. That's why I say belief not required, right? And everything that we're sharing, when you think it through, they are self-evident sensibilities. They work because when you apply them, you test them, you figure them, and you don't even need to get that far sometimes. You just think about, oh, okay, well, duh. Duh is a profound term in our dictionaries of power, right, Beena?
Exactly. Yes.
That's it. When you get to these, understandings, like, duh. Well, yeah, duh. But there wasn't a duh before it was a duh. So it's profound that it's a
Yeah.
duh now. It's nice and simple and it's obvious. But not having that duh, that's a problem. Yeah? So we need to get to duh. And what we do is to get to a series, a sequence, a whole collection of duhs. And it's a toolbox. It's a toolbox, right? Again, not idle. We're not coming at this just as fanciful stuff. It's very, very serious. And there's some incredibly sophisticated complexity and cohesiveness. Not complexity as in difficulty, but because, well, life is complex. Not particularly difficult, but it's complex. Yeah? Yeah. So what we're doing is not simple, in other words. It's a moreness, like a profound moreness to what we are doing, what we are sharing. To answer your question as to our intent, we are sharing this moreness and opening up doors for, because, well, hey, it's attunement. And whenever you do things from attunement, it tends to open up doors, right? Just moreness in action. That's what you see. Very, very cool. All right. We will continue tomorrow. We will continue tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
We will continue. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Sean, Norma,
yes, yes,
Joseph, Christopher,
yes.
and whoever was watching us on Instagram also.
Lubna
I
and
really, yes,
Samantha.
Lubna,
Yes,
Samantha, because I cannot see your names there. So that's why I always just say that, okay,
correct,
whoever.
correct.
So it doesn't mean
Did
that, okay, I'm this.
Lubna's hey comment not show
No,
in
I will check later. Okay,
dashboard?
I didn't see that, but yes,
Oh, you were looking
sometimes
at Facebook, not dashboard.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
okay. So it is not like, okay, I'm deliberately trying to ignore that or not taking your name, but we
no,
really, truly, truly appreciate. And of
yeah,
course, the interest is mutual, as Syl always saying that, okay, yes, I really appreciate you guys joining us. And also that whoever is going to watch us recorded, please, if you find some value, some goodness here, do appreciate by actually subscribing and of course clicking the notification bell also and leaving a comment there, because by doing so you are going to train your online algorithm to bring more such goodness and life value in your life, and ultimately it is going to affect your life algorithm because they are directly connected. You are training algorithm, life algorithm, online algorithm, because ultimately they are becoming same now. So please do pay attention to, and okay, I hope that you are going to join us tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us. See you guys
yes.
tomorrow.
Looking
Bye for
forward to
now.
it. Looking forward to it with great eagerness and enthusiasm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bye
I
for
just
now.
love it. Just absolutely love it. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye, everybody. All right, let me end Instagram and live video. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye, magical people.